So let's start with the next topic, which is grouping slash division. So the basic idea of grouping is that suppose you have n different objects. Okay, you have n different objects, and you want to divide them into R groups. Let's say group 1, group 2 till group R. Okay, and you want to divide these objects into R groups, and suppose group 1 has size n1, group 2 has size n2, and group R has size nr. Alright, so the idea is how many ways are there of dividing these n different objects into R groups of group size n1, n2, so on till nr. Okay, such that no two groups have the same size. So n1, so basically what this condition means is ni is not equal to nj whenever I not equal to j. Okay, now note that n1 plus n2 plus till nr is equal to n. Okay, this is fairly obvious. Okay, so the problem statement is we have n different objects and we would like to divide them into R groups such that group 1 has size n1, group 2 has size n2, and so on till group R has size nr. So what are the number of ways in which you can group these n different objects in the following manner? Okay, so see, the idea is that, see, basically first you should understand what does grouping or division mean. What this means is this group 1, suppose this is group 1, this is group 2 till group R. Okay, now suppose I put n1 objects inside this, I put n2 objects inside this, so on till nr objects inside group R. Now the important thing to keep in mind is that the only thing that matters here is that the selection. What objects go into group 1, what objects go into group 2, what objects go into group R. Okay, it does not matter how these n1 objects are arranged inside this group. Okay, ordering within the group, once you have selected some n1 objects and you have decided to put them in group 1, which is this one, then it does not matter how they are arranged inside the group. Okay, now you can ask that question also, that what will happen if I ask for the number of ways to arrange. You can pose the following problem as well, that how will you distribute n different objects into R groups such that ordering within a group is also relevant. We'll come to that in a later lecture. We will consider that case as well. But for now, what we are saying is we are just grouping the objects. Okay, ordering within a group is not important. Only selection of elements which are to be put in a particular group, that is important. Okay, so the result is the following. The result is that the number of such ways is n factorial upon n1 factorial, n2 factorial till nr factorial. Okay, now the proof. First, one method is, you see, since I said that the only thing that's important is selection, not the ordering. Okay, so required number of ways is nothing but, for the first group you can select n1 elements in n1 ways. Okay, all right, then after that you have n minus n1 elements left. From that you have to choose n2 elements which you want to put into group 2, and then you have n minus n1 minus n2 elements left, from which you have to choose n3 elements, and so on. Okay, the last term here would be n minus n1 minus so on till n r plus 1. Okay, r minus 1 c n r. All right. Okay, because you see the last term here is 2, and then the subscript here is 3. So one more is coming here. So this will be nr minus 1. So this will be nr. Okay. Now if you expand this using the definition of NCR, you will get n factorial upon n minus n1 factorial into n1 factorial. This will be n minus n1 factorial upon n2 factorial, and so on. Okay, and you will see that these terms get cancelled. This will get cancelled by the numerator of the next term, and what will remain is n factorial upon n1 factorial, n2 factorial, so on till nr factorial. Okay, this is one way of understanding this. Another way of understanding the same thing is, you see, suppose method 2. Suppose the n objects are O1, O2 till On. Alright, let these be the n objects. Okay, then the total number of arrangements of these n objects is n factorial. Alright, now what we want is, we want to partition these n objects into R groups. Okay, so do one thing. Just partition the arrangements into groups of, so the important step is, basically what our strategy is, we have n factorial arrangements. Okay, now out of these n factorial arrangements, we will start depermuting. Okay, depermuting means that we will remove the excess arrangements. We will keep only those arrangements which are relevant for grouping. Okay, now we will do this in the following way. The important step is, partition the arrangements into groups of size n1 till nr. Basically what we are doing is, suppose you have one of the arrangements is this. Okay, before that, suppose you have first partition, you have n1 elements here, then you have n2 elements here, then next partition we have n3 elements here, and so on till, let's say, this one is nr, the last one is nr. Okay, all right. Now what we are going to do is, we are going to take any particular arrangement out of, see, we have n factorial total arrangements of the n objects. We are going to take each arrangement, take any arrangement, and throw it at this partition. Okay, suppose you have O1, O2, O3, O4 till On. Okay, this is one arrangement, right? Just take this and throw it at this partition. Throw it at the above partition. What will happen? The partition will break this arrangement into groups, right? Into R groups. So the first, suppose this arrangement we took this arrangement, and suppose I throw it at the partition, then I will get O1 till On1, then On1 plus 1 till On1 plus N2, then On1 plus N2 plus 1 till On1 plus N2 plus N3, and so on. Okay, so this is one particular way of, I mean, we took an arrangement and we threw this arrangement at this partition. Okay, so this partition will cause a break in this arrangement, and what you will get is, you will get n1 elements here, n2 elements here, n3 elements here, and so on, and nr elements in the last partition. Okay, all right. Now, now you see, if you consider any particular arrangement, and when you throw that arrangement at this partition box, suppose, so this is one of the groupings, right? This is one of the groupings, one of the ways of grouping, right? So corresponding to this arrangement corresponding to this arrangement O1, O2, O3, O4, On, this is also one arrangement out of the n factorial arrangements. Then corresponding to this arrangement, this is one grouping that we got, this one, which is this in red box, in this red, inside this red box. This is one grouping, one of the ways of grouping. All right. Okay. Now you see that another, now if I want to now think about this, keeping this grouping same, keep this grouping same. Okay, that is group 1 has O1 till On1, group 2 has On1 plus 1 till On1 plus N2, and so on. Keep this grouping same. Now one of the arrangements out of the n factorial arrangements can be this also, where you have O2 at the first place, O1 till On1, rest On1 plus 1, suppose rest all of them are the same. Okay, rest all of them are same. Okay, but you will have that corresponding to this grouping, this red box grouping, one of the arrangements out of the n factorial arrangements is this also, when O2 comes first and O1 comes next to it, right? But the red box one and the blue box, the red box and the blue box, they both are exactly the same groupings, because in the beginning of this section, in the beginning of the section on grouping, I said that inside a group, within a group, it does not matter how the elements are arranged. What matters is what elements are going inside a group. Ordering is irrelevant. Okay, so essentially both of these are same, right? So what's the problem? The problem is intra-permutation within a group. Intra-permutation, by intra-permutation I mean permutations within a group. Inside this group, for example, intra-permutation within a group is irrelevant for us. Okay, because we just want to make groups. We are not concerned how the objects in the group are arranged. Okay, so corresponding to each such arrangement, what will you have is, you have n factorial arrangements. Out of this, n1 factorial arrangements are exactly the same corresponding to this grouping, right? Similarly, n2 factorial are, see what we are doing is, we have n factorial total arrangements. Okay, now corresponding to each arrangement, n1 factorial arrangements, if you intra-permute these, the group 1 elements, they all, and keep all others same, keep all others fixed, and just intra-permute this, the first group G1, intra-permute the elements of the first group, then all of these will actually be, they will be essentially same as this one, the original one that we started with, right? So every arrangement, corresponding to every arrangement, these many arrangements are redundant, so we depermute it. This is known as depermutation step. So we depermute it. Now again, corresponding to this group 2, there are n2 elements in this group 2. So again we will depermute, so we divide by n2 factorial and so on till nr factorial. Okay, now you might ask that when we, why are we dividing by each of the group sizes? You see, the logic is, you think about it. See, permutation and combination is all about logic and conceptual thinking. Okay, think about it. You have a partition which has n1 elements, you have a partition which has n2 elements, and you so on till you have a partition which has nr elements. Okay, you took an arrangement, take any arrangement and throw this arrangement at this partition. So this partition will break the permutation at each of these bars, right? And then the permutation, that particular arrangement will break down into R groups, and each group will have the required size that you wanted. That is how we made the partitions. Now what we are saying is, corresponding to each partition, the intra permutation within the partition, that is actually giving us the same grouping. All right, because grouping is concerned only with selection, not with ordering. So what we do is, we took the total number of arrangements and divide by the first group size, factorial of the first group size. Okay, now after that, once group 1 is not, see, that's why we said that n1 is not equal to n2 is not equal to n3. This is an important assumption. All right, we will take the case when two group sizes are same, then we have to do some additional work as well. Okay, we will come to that in the next topic, is that only. But for now, we are assuming that the group sizes are different. Okay, now since the group sizes are different, the arrangement, the intra permutation of this group 1, that will be different from the intra permutation of the group 2, because they are, whatever depermutation you have done, that is n factorial upon n1. The first step is, step 1 is n factorial upon n1 factorial. Okay, so we depermute the intra permutations, which are we depermute means we are essentially removing the excess permutations due to the caused by the intra permutations by the elements of group 1. Okay, now once you have done that, group 2 has n2 elements. Okay, so corresponding to every arrangement, you have depermuted the group 1, but group 2 still the elements of group 2 itself, they can permute amongst themselves. Those arrangements have not been accounted for. Think about it. Those arrangements have not been accounted for by depermuting group 1. So they have to be depermuted separately, and so on till n r factorial. Okay. All right. If it is not clear, if it is still not clear, I would suggest that you go back a few minutes and try to listen what I said again, and I'm sure you will get it. This is fairly simple concept. All you have to do is just imagine, just think conceptually, and everything will be fine. Okay. All right. Let's take a simple example. Let's take an example. Suppose I have 5 different objects. Suppose group 1 size is 3, group 2 size is 2. Okay, let O1, O2 till O5 be the objects. Let these be the 5 different objects. Okay, so what we are doing is, corresponding to every arrangement, suppose one arrangement is O1, O2, O3, and we throw it at this partition, which divides it into 3 and 2 elements. So we have O4, O5. Okay. Now think, intra permutation, you have intra permutation of these 3 elements, right? Consider the 3 factorial arrangements of these 3 elements. They are O1, O3, O2, O2, O3, O1, then O2, O1, O3, O3, O1, O2, O3, O2, O1. Okay, these 6, and keep these fixed. That is what I meant in the previous. That was a general case. This is a specific example. Keep these fixed. Okay. Now, with regard to grouping, all these arrangements are actually the same, right? That's why what we do is we depermute. Corresponding to every arrangement, what you do is take any arrangement and throw this at this partition. Okay, throw that permutation at this partition. So it will divide the arrangement into groups of 2 group sizes, into 2 groups, one of group size 3 and one of group size 2. Okay, now do intra permutation of that particular arrangement. So there are 3 elements in this group, so 3 factorial arrangements will be there, intra permutations. But do you see that all these 6 elements, you are keeping O4 and O5 fixed. All these 6 elements are actually essentially the same with regards to grouping, right? They are the same with regards to grouping, and that happens corresponding to each arrangement. So you depermute the first you depermute corresponding to the first group. Okay, now, but this, but still you could have the following case, right? You could have O5 O4. In all these cases you had O4 O5, right? You could have O5 O4 also, right? So there are two factorial arrangements. Corresponding to every arrangement, you have two factorial arrangements of this also, right? So you have to depermute by that also, right? The resultant permutations. Now see, another way to understand is this: you have depermuted with respect to depermute with respect to group 1. Okay, so now you have 5 factorial by 3 factorial arrangements. Okay, now in that what you have done is you have depermuted with respect to group 1. So all these redundant permutations are gone. This one, these redundant permutations are gone. But now, corresponding to every arrangement, now you take, let's suppose you have one arrangement that you take this arrangement. You could have this one also, keeping this fixed. You could have this also, right? So see, once you have depermuted group 1, then you just take one representative, that is O1 O2 O3, O1 O2 O3. You don't have to take any other arrangement of this because we have already depermuted here. Okay, now keeping this fixed, this can vary in 2 factorial ways, right? Corresponding to every arrangement, now you have 2 ways of representing O4 and O5, right? So we have to depermute further. Alright, I hope this makes sense. Now, another thing is that, you see, suppose we till now we have considered the case when group sizes are different, that is no two groups have the same size. All right, okay, by the way, just think about what I said till now and try to take different values of n and n1 n2 n3 and so on, and try to experiment and see what's happening. Okay, and it will start making sense. So play around with little small values of n and different values of n1 n2 till nr, and you will get it. Okay, all right, now you see the next case is, suppose n different objects are there. Okay, and suppose we want to divide them into groups such that k1 groups have size n1. That is, now we are relaxing the condition that no two groups have the same size. Now we are saying that k1 groups have size n1, k2 groups have size n2, and so on till kr groups have size nr. Okay, then the required number of ways of grouping will be n factorial upon n1 factorial to the power k1, n2 factorial to the power k2, nr factorial to the power kr into 1 upon k1 factorial, k2 factorial till kr factorial. Okay, now, so where it is clear that n is equal to summation ki ni, I equal to 1 to r, that is k1 n1 plus k2 n2 and so on till kr nr, because k1 groups have size n1, so k1 n1 elements from there, k2 n2 elements similarly from there, and kr groups have size nr, so total number of elements in kr groups is kr into nr. So total of these, sum of these will be n. That is fairly obvious. Now let's try to see why this is true. See, just like in the previous case, consider, suppose there are 17 different objects. Okay, suppose there are 17 different objects which are divided into 4 groups. Okay, this is group size 3. Okay, this is group size 5, and suppose uh, group size 3, group size 3, 4, 7, suppose you have 4 groups of group size 3, okay, and 1 group of group size 5. Okay, you have 17 different objects, 1 group is of size 5 and 4 groups of group size 3, and you want to find the number of ways of grouping. Okay, now suppose just like in the previous case, take any particular arrangement. Suppose you have O1, O2, O3 sequentially till O17. Okay, now suppose you throw it at the partition which divides them into the required group. So you have group 1 which has O1, O2, O3, then O4, O5, O6, O7, O8, O9, O10, O11, O12, and lastly you have O13 till O17. Okay, now you see, just like by the same logic that we used in the previous case, first you depermute the intra permutations. Okay, we finish off the intra permutations. So what we do is 17 factorial by 3 factorial by 3 factorial by 3 factorial by 3 factorial into 5 factorial. This is the same thing that we did in the first case. Okay, corresponding to every grouping we depermute. That is the same logic that is being used here. But now at this point we have only depermuted intra permutations. Okay, we have depermuted only the intra permutations. Okay, but this depermutation does not account, for example, you have one of the groupings is this. Okay, given by this red thing, this is one of the grouping, this red box. Okay, you could also have the following thing. You could have, for example, O4, O5, O6, O1, O2, O3, and rest same things. That is O7, O8, O9, and so on. Same. Okay. Note that this case is counted as separate in the 17 factorial arrangements, and it is not accounted for by this thing. Suppose this is star. This 17 factorial upon 3 factorial to the power 4 into 5 factorial, this does not account for this particular arrangement. What I mean to say is, the depermutations that you have done, you have taken one particular arrangement and you have done you have depermuted it. Okay, corresponding to every arrangement you have, for example, suppose you have O1, O2, O3 till O17. Okay, then you throw that permutation at this partition box, and then you get first group which has O1, O2, O3, second group which has O4, O5, O6, and so on. Okay, now then you have intra permutations happening within the groups, so you finish them off. But this does not take care of this case when O4, O5, O6 comes here and O1, O2, O3 goes here. Okay, this case is not taken care of by this thing. This is not finished in this, so this is still a redundant thing, right? Because ordering of this group, ordering in the the permutation of the groups itself is not relevant. Okay, so what we have to do is, now you see, in how many ways can this happen? You have 4 groups of size 3, right? So they can permute the groups, these blocks, these green blocks of each of which is of size 3, they can permute amongst themselves in 4 factorial ways, right? And these 4 factorial ways are not accounted for in this thing. So you have to further divide by 4 factorial. Okay, all right. So this would be the answer. For example, let's take a simple. This was the general case. Now let's take a specific example. Suppose you have 8 elements, okay, 8 different objects, and suppose you divide it into, let's say, first group of size 2, second group of size 2, and fourth group of size 4. Okay, so your K1 is 2. That is, you have two groups of size 2. So K1 is 2 here. Okay. Now, one of the groupings could be this. Okay, this could be one of the groupings. Now, if you think about it, O2, O1, O3, O4, O5, O6, O7, O8. This is again, again we are. This is nothing but intra permutation of within the groups. Okay, so and so on. So we will, after first depermutation, we get 8 factorial upon 2 factorial, 2 factorial, 4 factorial. Okay, so this is after the first depermutation. But you could also have the following case. We could also have O3, O4 here, O1, O2 here, and O5, O6, O7, O8 here. But you see, this particular case, that is not, we have to actually remove this case also. We want to remove this excess permutation also. But this excess permutation is not removed in this depermutation. Okay, so we have to, because this is different from this one. Think about it. All we have done is we have taken an arrangement and we have depermuted the intra permutations within the groups. Within the groups we have finished. But these three blocks, these two blocks in green, these two blocks, they can permute. The blocks can permute amongst themselves to give more permutations, which are irrelevant from the point of view of grouping. So we have to finish them off as well. So the final answer would be 8 factorial upon 2 factorial, 2 factorial, 4 factorial, the first step, and then 2 factorial again, because we have two groups of size 2. So these two blocks can permute amongst themselves also. So we have to finish off that excess permutation as well. Okay, so think about whatever I said, and this is this is the this is as conceptual as it can get, and just try to take some values of n, different small values of n and different values of n1, n2, n3, and so on, and try to play around with the different permutations and see for yourself that what's happening, and I'm sure you will get it. And this is a beautiful concept, and this will be used throughout the uh, subsequent topics. Okay, we will make heavy usage of grouping through in the subsequent sections. So it is absolutely essential that you master this concept. Okay, so see you in the next lecture. Bye bye. Okay, so let's start with the next topic, which is distribution. Now you see, suppose the first point is, suppose you have n different objects. Okay, and you want to distribute these n different objects among n persons. Okay, so how many ways would be there? Well, if the objects are labeled as O1 till On, then object 1 has n choices, object O2 will have, let's say, n minus, such that n different objects are to be distributed among n persons, such that one object to each person. Okay, every person gets one object each. Each person gets one object each. So O1, object O1 has n options, object O2 has n minus 1 options, and object On will have one option. So by fundamental principle of counting, you will have n into n minus 1 into n minus 2, so on till 1, which is n factorial. Okay. Now suppose you have n different objects and you want to distribute them among R persons. Okay, and there is no restriction on the number of objects that each person gets. Okay, but all objects must be distributed. Okay, so number of ways would be, for the first object, if you take O1, then it has R options, right? Out of the R persons, it can go to any one person. Similarly, second object will have R choices, third object will have R choices, and so on till nth object n copies. And nth object will also have R choices, so R to the power n. Okay, alright. Now you see, in this case, same person can receive more than one object, and it can also happen that some persons do not receive any object at all. Okay, so this is that case. Third point, suppose you have n different objects and you want to distribute them among R persons. R is greater than n, okay, such that no one gets more than one object. So again, this is pretty simple. This will be, first of all, what, see, R persons are there and number of persons is more than the number of objects. R is greater than n, strictly greater than n. Okay, so first of all, you select n people. Okay, select the n people to whom you will give those n different objects. You see, it is the statement says that no one gets more than one object. Okay, so if at all a person gets an object, he or she cannot get more than one object, and all objects are to be distributed. Okay, all objects are to be distributed. Now, so what you will do is, first of all, out of the R persons, you will select the n persons to whom those n different objects are to be given. Okay, once you have made the selection of those n people, now you can distribute those n different objects amongst those n persons using the first point that we did. Okay, so this is RCN into n factorial. Okay, now next point is, suppose you have n different objects and you want to distribute them among R persons. Okay, okay, note that only in case 3 we have put a restriction that R is greater than n. In case 2 there is no restriction. Okay, in case 2 there is no such restriction. Okay, now the fourth case is n different objects are to be distributed amongst R persons. Okay, now again there is no restriction. No restriction means that there is no restriction on the number of objects that are given to a person, and there is no restriction on the number of objects distributed, but at least one object should be distributed. See, no restrict, in this case what we are saying is no restriction, a person can get any number of objects, and secondly, number of objects, all objects need not be distributed. Okay, all objects need not be distributed. Okay, but at least one object must be distributed. Okay, now see, when we say that when I told you that whenever they encounter the word at least or at most, convert it into exactly. So number of ways will be exactly one object is distributed plus exactly two, and so on till exactly n objects are distributed. Now, if exactly one object is distributed, okay, then first of all, what you do is select the object that you want to distribute. Okay, select the object out of the n objects that you want to distribute. Okay, and then you can distribute that selected object amongst r persons without any restriction using the second point, which was this thing, right? So first of all, select one object that you want to distribute, and that one object has r options. It can go to any one of the any one person. Okay, similarly, select the two objects that you want to distribute, and then the first object will have r options and the second object will also have r options. Then select three objects into into r into r, so on till ncn into r to the power n. Okay, and again, if you have studied a little bit of binomial, you will recognize that this is nothing but 1 plus r to the power n minus 1. Okay, this is one way of understanding this. Another way is, method 2 is alternative explanation for this formula. You see, so we have r persons p1 p2 till pr. Okay, now put one box here. Okay, let assume that this is r plus 1th person. Okay, now distribute the n objects amongst these r plus 1 persons. What I'm saying is, distribute the n objects amongst the r plus 1 persons. Okay, now you see how many ways are there to do that. Each object has r plus 1 choices. Okay, object 1 will have r plus 1 choice, object 2 will have r plus 1 choice. When this is when we have no restriction on the number of objects that each person will get, but at least one object must be distributed. Okay, so this is using the second point that we have considered above. Okay, and till on will have r plus 1 choices. So in total there will be r plus 1 to the power n ways. Okay, now note that putting an object in the box means that it is not given to any of the persons. Okay, but one case is that all n objects are put in the box, but the given condition is that at least one object should be distributed amongst r persons. Therefore 1 plus r to the power n minus 1. This is the number of ways. So the idea here is, you put a box alongside these r persons, and if an object is not distributed to any one of the any person at all, because see, we have said in this case we are saying that a person can get any number of objects. Also, all objects need not be distributed, but at least one object must be distributed. Okay, so when we are putting an object in the box, that means that that object is not distributed, that is not given to any person. Okay, but there will be one case when every object is put in the box, which means that all objects are which means that no person gets any object at all, but that according to the given condition, at least one object must be distributed amongst the r persons. So we subtract that case. So this is an alternative explanation to understand this result. Okay, now suppose let's take the next case. Suppose I say that I want to distribute n different objects, amongst r persons. Okay, I want to distribute n different objects amongst r persons such that each person can get any number of objects. Okay, each person can get any number of objects. All objects must be distributed. Okay, and the ordering of objects see, what you can think is, suppose you have n different objects and you want to distribute among r persons, or you can call r boxes, r different boxes, okay, such that each person or each box can get any number of objects. All objects must be distributed, and the ordering of objects in the box is relevant, is important, or should be taken into account. See, first of all, before I proceed, I would like to tell you that there is no need to memorize these formulas. Okay, if you see a question and if it quickly strikes you that yes, this formula is applicable here, then well and good. But all I am telling, these cases are not to be memorized. Okay, that is the most important thing. You must understand the concept, that is you must understand the logic and the concept that is working behind these cases. Okay, rather than memorizing each, because there will be hundreds and hundreds of different scenarios, and in good questions it extremely unlikely that you will be able to apply a formula directly. Okay, so in good questions you will have to use different concepts simultaneously. So it's better to understand the concepts rather than memorize the formula. I am telling you these cases just so that just for practice, so that you understand the logic and the way we are proceeding. Okay, so that is important, that is very crucial. Okay, so you can create different scenarios yourself also. I mean, you can imagine different ways, different situations, and you can try to solve them as toy problems. Okay, so there is absolutely no issue in that. Okay, now, okay, so n different objects are persons. Each person can get any number of objects. All objects must be distributed, and the ordering of objects in the box is important. Okay, now if you if you think about it, this is this case. Second case was, you have n different objects and you want to distribute it amongst r persons. Okay, no restriction, but all objects must be distributed. So in that case the answer was r to the power n. But now the thing is, when you give an object to a person or a box, the ordering of, suppose a person gets two objects, then the ordering is also important here. This is an additional condition that we have put. So how to go about it? Now you see, the one method to do this is, you see, suppose you have box 1, partition it, you have box 2, and you have box 3, so on till box r. Okay, now the first object, let's say, suppose your objects are O1 till On. Now O1 has how many choices? The object O1 can be put in any one of the R boxes, right? Suppose it is put here, O1. Okay, so it has R choices. Okay, now corresponding to every choice of O1, how many choices does O2 have? First of all, it has R minus 1 options, the R minus 1 boxes. It can go to any one of the R minus 1 boxes. Also, it can either go here or it can either go here. So R minus 1 plus 2. Okay, what I am saying is, the object O2 has, either it can go to the boxes in which O1 is not present. So there are R minus 1 such boxes. Or it can go to the two places, either to the left or the right of O1. So two more such positions it has, which it can take. So R minus 1 plus 2. Now if you take object O3, okay, now in case of object O3, how many choices does it have? If object O2 is put here, suppose, then it has r minus 2 boxes that it can go to. One case is that, or okay, it has r minus 2 boxes which are left. Either it can go into those r minus 2 boxes, or it can go to the left of O1 or the right of O1, or left of O2 or right of O2. Okay, so plus 4. Okay, so r minus 2 plus 4 choices. And you might say that, okay, if O2 is present here, then how many choices does O3 have? Then again it will have r minus, in that case it will have, if O1 and O2 are in the same box, then r minus 1 boxes are left. Either O3 can go to into the r minus 1 boxes, or it can go, if O1 and O2 are in the same box, then it can go here, here, or here, 3 places, so plus 3. So in any case it will have r plus 2 choices. O3 will always have r plus 2 choices corresponding to every choice of O1 and O2. So by multiplication rule, till now you have r into r plus 1 into r plus 2 ways. Now similarly, object O4 will have, by similar logic, it will have r plus 3 choices, and so on till On. The nth object will have r plus n minus 1 choices. Okay, so the total number of ways is this. Okay, now this is one way of understanding this, because see, now ordering is important. Now ordering is important. We have considered ordering also. It matters that when you put a object in two objects in a box, in what order they are present. The ordering is important. That's why this method is different from the second part. Okay, so number of ways is this. Now there is one more method to understand this. Now think about it. You have O1, O2 till On, n different objects. Okay, now what I can do is, take, you want to distribute it amongst r boxes or r different persons. Okay, take r minus 1 bars. Okay, take r minus 1 bars. Now think about it. Required number of ways is nothing but number of permutations of n plus r minus 1 objects, out of which r minus 1 are alike. Now why did I say this? You see, you take any permutation of these are n and these are r minus 1 bars. Okay, now these are n different objects and these are one r minus 1 similar bars or alike bars. Okay, now if I take any arrangement of these objects, suppose I take O1, O2 here, I put a bar here, O3, O4 here, put a bar here, and so on. Okay, and you have something here. This is the last gap. I beg your pardon. Yeah, so this is the, so yeah, here some objects must be there, may or may not be there. Okay, so now this is one permutation. Okay, this is one arrangement of n different objects and r minus 1 bars. Okay, now another arrangement could be O2, O1, O4, O3, and so on. Okay, so this is another arrangement. Now because we have considered the n objects to be different, that's why this permutation, this arrangement and this arrangement, they are different. Okay, so if you think about it, the required solution is nothing but number of permutations of n plus r minus 1 objects, out of which n are different and r minus 1 are alike. Okay, think about it. Just if you don't get it, then it's okay. Just ponder on this. Okay, any arrangement of these n plus r minus 1 objects, it will give me a way in which each box will get some number of objects, and ordering of that will also be taken into account in the r n plus in these number of permutations, right? Just think about it. Okay, now what are the number of such permutations? They are n plus r minus 1 factorial upon r minus 1 factorial. This we have already seen before, and this is nothing but what we did above. Okay, so this is another way of understanding this concept. Okay, moving ahead, suppose I tell you, suppose I tell you that you are given n different objects. Okay, all must be distributed. Okay, and amongst r persons, okay, such that r here is less than equal to n, all must be distributed, and r such that each person should get at least one object. Now see, this condition is redundant. When I say that each person should get at least one object, then obviously number of persons should be less than equal to the number of objects. If number of persons is more, then each person cannot get there will be some persons who will not get any object at all. Okay, now in this case, so we have the problem as n different objects, all must be distributed amongst r persons, r such that each person should get at least one object. Okay, okay, now how to find the number of ways in which this can be done. Now you see, let me just first tell you the procedure, how to solve this question, and then I will tell you that what will be the wrong logic to do this question. Okay, first let me tell you the correct procedure, and then I will tell you the wrong logic, or rather I will tell you the wrong logic first, and then I will tell the correct procedure. Suppose you have 12 different objects. Okay, and you have 9 persons. Okay, you have 12 different objects and you have 9 persons. Now the wrong way of doing this problem would be as follows. The wrong way of doing this problem would be as follows. You see, let me just write this down. Erroneous logic. Okay. Now you have 12 different objects and you want to distribute it amongst 9 persons. So what you will do is, you might do something like this, that you select any 9 objects out of the 12 objects, okay, in 12c 9 ways. Okay, then distribute those 9 objects amongst the 9 persons in n factorial ways. Okay, now how many objects are left? 3 objects are left. So 3 objects and 9 persons. Now you have no restriction. Okay, any object can go to any person. So each object has 9 choices. Each object has 9 choices. So 9 to the power 3. Something like this. What I am saying is, you might have a tendency to do something like, first of all, out of the 12 objects, select any 9 objects. Okay, and distribute those 9 objects among 9 persons. Now every person has one object, at least one object. Okay, now 3 objects are remaining and 9 persons are there. So distribute those 3 objects amongst 9 persons without any restriction, just like the second part, in 9 to the power 3 ways. Okay, because each object will have 9 choices now. The remaining 3 objects, for the remaining 3 objects, each object will have 9 choices. So 9 to the power 3 ways you can distribute the remaining 3 objects. Now the problem in this method is that there is overcounting in this answer, because recall that when multiplication is done, then order, if possible, is also counted in the answer. Okay, consider the following case. You have, let's say, persons are P1, P2 till P9. Okay, all right, and suppose corresponding to 12C9 into 9 factorial, corresponding to 12C9 into 9 factorial, one of the arrangements is O1, O2 and O9. Okay, sequentially. And suppose corresponding to 9 to the power 3, you have something like O10 and O11 here. All right, so what I'm saying is, suppose when you chose 9 objects out of 12 objects and you arranged it in 9 factorial ways, suppose one of the arrangements was this. Okay, now remaining 3 objects, okay, now for the remaining 3 objects, suppose O10 and for the remaining 3 objects, suppose O10 and O11 go to P1 and O12 suppose goes somewhere else. Okay, anywhere, doesn't matter. Okay, now you could also have the following scenario, that corresponding, you have P1, P2 till Pn. Now corresponding to 12C9 into 9 factorial, when you chose the 9 objects out of 12 objects and distributed them amongst 9 persons, you could have that case that you would have O10 here, O2 here, and so on till O9 here. Okay, and corresponding to the remaining 3 objects which were to be distributed amongst 9 persons, suppose O1 and O11 appeared here. Okay, and O12 doesn't matter, suppose it goes O12, okay, goes here. Okay, so both of these cases are exactly the same, right? Both of these cases are exactly the same. There is redundancy because now, and one more important thing, this O12 doesn't matter, it doesn't have to go to P9 only, it can go here also or anywhere. What we are concerned with is that there is intra permutation that is happening here. All right, there is intra permutation which is happening within P1. All right, so whenever you are given n different objects and asked to distribute amongst r persons such that each person gets at least one object, then we will never use this wrong logic that first distribute r objects. Okay, first distribute r objects and then freely distribute the remaining n minus r objects. We will never use this logic. Okay, so I hope this makes sense that why this logic is wrong. You see, because P1 has O1, O10, O11, but now this case is also counted that when P1 has O10, O1, O11. So ordering of objects that P1 has is also being considered in this 12C9 into 9 factorial into 9 to the power 3. Okay, so the order in which elements appear with order in which the elements appear in a person's hand, that is also being counted in this. So there is lot of over counting happening. Okay, so so I hope this makes sense. Okay, all right, so what would be the right way to go about it? Well, you see, what we do is generally, I mean, this is a standard way of solving these problems. What you do is, first of all, step 1, find, what you do is you find all possible distributions of n objects among r persons such that each gets at least one object. For example, what I'm saying, let me just write it down. First, find all possible distributions of n objects amongst r persons. Here distribution has a different meaning. Here by distribution I mean that I'll this example that we have taken where n is 12 and r is 9, we will take this example and I'll explain what this means. Amongst r persons, such that each gets at least one object. Okay. For example, in this case, in the case of 12 objects and 9 persons, how many ways are there in which you can distribute the objects such that each person gets at least one object? Okay, so one possible distribution D1 is that you give one person 4 objects, okay, and then to the remaining 8 persons you give one object each. So these are 8 ones, okay. Then another possible distribution is you give 3 objects to one person, 2 objects to another person, and remaining 7 persons you give one object each. So see, a shortcut to finding these distributions is go in a non-increasing manner. I mean, just keep on reducing the numbers while going from here to here. Okay, so you have 4 1 1 1 1, then decrease 4 by 1, increase this by 1, and so on. Okay, so in a non-increasing manner, non-increasing sequence. Okay, then one possible another distribution that you can have is you can distribute two objects to 2 persons to 3 persons, and remaining 6 persons you give one object each. Alright, now if you think about it, these are the only possible ways in which you can distribute 12 objects amongst 9 persons such that each person gets one object each. Okay, now you see, now the idea is, if you remember, we studied something known as grouping, right? So what you do is use grouping corresponding to each distribution. Corresponding to D1, the number of ways of grouping would be corresponding to step 2. See, to give you an a bird's eye view, what we are saying is, first of all, in the problem statement is you want to distribute 12 different objects amongst 9 persons such that each person gets at least one object. Okay, so first of all, find the number of distributions which are possible. So either one person can get 4 objects and remaining 8 persons can get one object each. Till now I have not told you that which person will get those 4 objects and which remaining 8 persons will get one object each. That will be the last step. First step is, what are the possible ways in which you can divide these into 9 groups? Okay, so one possible way is D1, another is D2, then D3. Now step 2 is, corresponding to D1, in how many ways can you form these 9 groups, right? You have 12 different objects and you want to form 9 groups. So corresponding to D1, we have 12 different objects. Okay, 12 different objects which must be divided into 8 groups of group size 1. Okay, and one group of group size 4. See, first step is only telling you that how you can distribute these 12 objects amongst 9 persons. Okay, second step is telling you which 4 objects will be in this group. For example, this group of size 4, which 4 objects will be in this group? That is also important, right? That the person who is getting 4 objects, which 4 objects he is getting, that is also important, and which person is getting those 4 objects, that is also important. So till now we have just, in the first step we have discussed that how you can what are the possible ways of distribution. Second step is which 4 objects will be in that group and which remaining 8 objects will be in these groups of group size 1, that we are discussing in step 2. And which person will get those 4 objects and 1 object and all those things, that will be step 3. Okay, so step 2 is you have 12 different objects, you want to form 8 groups of group size 1 and 1 group of group size 4. So how many ways are there? There are 12 factorial upon 4 factorial, 1 factorial to the power 8, and there are 8 groups of group size 1, so 8 factorial. Okay, this is corresponding to D1, so call it N1. Okay, similarly corresponding to D2, you have N2 equal to 12 factorial upon how many you have? 1 group of group size 3, 1 group of group size 2, and 7 groups of group size 1, 7 groups of group size 1. So that will be 3 factorial, 2 factorial, 1 factorial to the power 7, 7 factorial. Similarly, N3 will be corresponding to D3, that will be 12 factorial upon 2 factorial to cube, 3 groups of group size 2 and 6 groups of group size 1 and 3 factorial, 6 factorial. Okay, this is N3. Now you see step 3 is corresponding to D1. We have N1 ways of grouping 12 different objects. Okay, that is we have N corresponding to D1, we have N1 ways of making 8 groups of group size 1 and 1 group of group size 4. Okay, that is equivalent to saying we have N1 ways of making 9 different groups. Okay, we have N1 ways of making 9 different groups with 8 groups of group size 1 and 1 group of group size 4. Okay, this is the number of ways in which you can make these 9 different groups. Okay, now we have to decide which person will get which group. That can be done in 9 factorial ways, right? So corresponding to D1 you have N1 into 9 factorial ways. Similarly, corresponding to D2 you will have N2 into 9 factorial ways, and corresponding to D3 you will have N3 into 9 factorial ways. So finally you will get N1 plus N2 plus N3. N1 plus N2 plus N3 denotes the total number of ways in which you can form 9 groups. Okay, into once you have formed the groups, different groups, distribute them amongst 9 persons in 9 factorial ways. This is your answer. Okay, so just to recap, what we are doing is, in the first step, first of all we find out in how many ways can the distributions occur. Okay, 4 objects to 1 person and 8 objects, and remaining 4 objects to 1 person and remaining 8 persons will get 1 object each. Then 3 objects to 1 person, 2 objects to another person, and remaining 7 objects to 7 people. Okay, and so on. Then after we have, this is step 1 is just the foundational step. After we have done this, now we need to see which 4 objects will form. For example, in case of D1, I said that you can form a group such that 1 group is of size 4, okay, and 8 groups are of size group 1. But which 4 objects will form this group? That is also important. Which 4 objects will form this group of size 4 and which 8 objects will form groups of size 1 each? That is also important, and that is the problem, exactly the problem of grouping. Similarly, corresponding to D2, which 3 objects will form this group and which 2 objects will form this group? That is taken care of by step 2, which is grouping. Once we have formed the number of all these 9 different groups, okay, now we have that, for example, one group is O1, O2, O3, O4. This is one group corresponding to D1. Then O5, O6, O7, O8, O9, O10, O11, O12. Okay, remaining eight objects with a group of group size 1. Okay, now this group, that it can go to any one of the 9 persons. That is step 3. Until now we have just formed number of groups. Now we have to distribute it amongst 9 persons. Now which person will get which group, that is also important. Till now what we have done is which group will contain which object. Okay, now in step 3 what we are doing is which person will get which group. Okay, so that can be done for D1. It has n1 ways of grouping, right? N1 ways of making groups. So corresponding to each way you can distribute, you will have n1 into n factorial number of ways in which you can distribute the n different objects amongst r persons such that each person gets at least one object. Similarly, corresponding to D2, you have n2 number of groups. Okay, you have n2 ways of making 9 different groups. Okay, you have made 9 different groups. Now you want to distribute these groups or boxes amongst 9 persons. That can be done in 9 factorial ways. Okay, so I hope this makes sense, and in the next lecture we will solve some problems, and I'll solve some good questions and some good problems in the next lecture. So till then, just if you haven't understood, then just go through these videos again, and you will get it. These are straightforward concepts, but they are very interesting, and there's no need to memorize or rote learning is strictly not recommended, and you have to understand the concepts. Okay, so hope to see you in the next lecture. Bye bye.